So our guest today, again, from the massive Rolodex that is the Eramelinda Boquer network, where we've reached the Y's.
Yes. And, well, this gentleman I've known for a long time, Russell Yuen, is an incredible actor who's appeared in over 200 episodes of television or film. He's a martial artist, diver, so much more. But he came onto my radar. The first time I ever met Russell was in an audition. I think where we were playing a married couple, which probably scared him. Anyway, we remain friends. He's a lovely young man. But I was watching one of my favorite YouTube videos, Mayday, about when bad things happen on airplane, and I saw Russell.
You're a big fan of that show, aren't you?
I love that show. Well, it's not only about things that go wrong, but why things go wrong, but also about amazing pilots. I've decided after watching that show, I'm never getting on a plane unless both pilots have gray hair. Anyway, I watched one episode and it's like, my God, it's Russell's the pilot. In another episode, Russell is the engineer. And in another episode, he's the co-pilot. In another episode, he's the safety guy. So I thought it would be fun to catch up with him and introduce him to our audience. By the way, nominated for ACTRA Actor of the Year this year.
ACTRA Actor of the Year. Are you still a member of ACTRA?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. They haven't called me in many years, but it's still. Of course, you watch the photographs as I age over the years, and they're thinking, okay, so where can we put this guy in? I know, Dead Body number 2.
Yes. Al Gravel always used to say lamppost number 3.
Lamppost number 3. And there's Russell this morning. Good morning, hey. Russell. How are you?
Good morning, folks. How are you guys doing?
Okay, we're just talking about your IMDb list here. It's quite long. And ACTRA Actor of the Year nominated. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's weird talking to the guy I used to watch on the news all the time, but yeah.
It's thank you. I am weird, but we're having a good time here today. And Era and I go back 50 years almost, don't we?
Yes, we
do. Yeah, we talked about this a lot.
Back at a little radio station in Ottawa, 5,000 watt radio station.
Back before Russell was born, so that's
right.
But I have, what, I'm going to jump right in here. I have a question about your logo. This is your This is your production. Okay, what do the Hanzi characters mean?
That's actually my name in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my name in Chinese is Yun Paksan. So Paksan Productions.
Okay.
I needed a name for the company. I had no idea what to do, and since I couldn't write my name properly, I had a stamp made, or a chalk they call it, way back when, and I use it as my company logo now.
I think it's great. I thought my eye went straight to it. I think it's very chic and very stylish. Good for you. So Yun Boksun.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Wow. Okay. So Era, I'll let you begin here with the questions. I mean, you folks have worked together, have you not?
Well, we auditioned a lot together. Okay. I can't remember. Russell was always I was often cast as a reporter or a newscaster, and I have no idea why, because that's furthest away of who I am. Can't figure it out. But Russell, I learned new things about Russell when we were chatting and got caught up before this interview. He's a fourth generation Montrealer. And Russell, aside from his broad resume as an actor, he's also been a whitewater rescuer and rafting guide in northern Quebec, ran an auto facility because he's stupidly muscular, scuba diver, ice climber, inline skier, mountain biker, and fencer, and former martial artist in Shaolin. That opened doors early in your career.
That's right. Yeah. When I started, 39 years ago, there were no speaking roles for Asian actors. So, I graduated theater school, Concordia, thinking I'm doing Shakespeare and Molière. I'll come out and be an actor. And yeah, my first agent said, there's no speaking roles for Asians. So I ended up doing stunts and a lot of martial art movies for the first 8-10 years of my career.
What this gets into a question I wanted to get into eventually, but so your agent actually told you there were no speaking roles for Asians.
Well, it came up in a conversation because I was just like, why am I, there was all these, I would see all these auditions happening, and I never got to audition for a lot of these roles. And as you know, on breakdowns, they'll oft nowadays they're very PC about the way they do the breakdowns.
Oh yeah.
What
But
is a
back,
break? What
back
is a breakdown? I'm sorry, Russell. Can you
oh,
explain?
sorry. Yeah, a breakdown is a casting will send out to agents a sheet that mentions all the characters and who they're looking for and the description of each character. So male, female, the age range, and back then they were very blatant about saying no. It wasn't said, but it was assumed that all these roles were white. So unless it said an Asian Chinese character, then you wouldn't be able to audition. So at one point, I asked my agent, why can't I audition for some of these roles? And they go, well, they're white roles. There's no speaking roles for Asians. And I was just like, what? What the heck?
Yeah,
But of
I'm
course,
sorry.
if you look back then on film and TV, there were no Asians. I mean, there was Hop Sing on Bonanza, I guess, and, and those kind of characters.
Yes.
And
Or whites playing Asians, right?
yes,
Like Cindy, yeah. Like
Yeah.
Cindy
I
Toler
remember
and Charlie
distinctly.
Chan.
Yeah, I distinctly remember asking my mom when seeing Breakfast at Tiffany's, why does that Asian man look so strange? You know, and then she goes, "Well, he's not Asian, dear. He's
Right.
a white man playing an Asian."
With
And I'm like,
makeup. Yeah.
why?
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
And Samuel Jackson, when I was doing the Red Violin, we had a great conversation, and I was telling him because the Red Violin was one of my first speaking roles with Sandra Oh, and I was talking to Sam Jackson, and he was like, I was like, why aren't there more roles for us? And he told me, you have to stick it out for a long term. He says, because Asian actors are taking the same route that black actors took. You're just a few years behind us. And I go, what do you mean? And he gave me a quick history lesson of blaxploitation and how blacks came into film. So, and very much like blacks, that's how the Asian evolution came too within film and TV. So if you think about it, at first you saw a lot of martial art films, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and those guys. And then the first Asian women you would see on screen would be the eye candy. The non-speaking pretty Bond girl, for example, would be the Asian girl. And then Asian men would be the drug dealers, the pimps. And then slowly, the Asian men would become not so much the pimps. They'd be maybe a bad man. And then later on, the women would have speaking roles. And then the men would have speaking roles. So it was the same evolution as the black actors, Asian actors too. So that's why when I started, there were no speaking roles, unfortunately. But luckily, I had the martial arts background that would let me at least be in the film industry, although I was doing stunts and martial art films.
This may sound indelicate, but is it in token territory now, or has it moved on past that?
It's moved past. I would like to say it's moved past. The problem is the evolution in the industry is, I describe it as glacial. The movement is kind of glacial.
Right. Okay.
It moves, but it's ever so slow. So sometimes in our industry, in order to encourage hiring visible minorities still, they have what's called the diversity tax credit. So that they still need that kind of stuff to encourage productions to hire people of different colors and
Right.
to make up how would you say more a better representation of what society really is right now.
So at your end then, is it one of these things? Okay, I'll take the job because I'm an actor and I need the part and I need the money, as it were, or do you?
Yes and no. luckily for me, because I've been doing this for so long, um, there are some roles when I look at them and I read the description, I say I'm not going to audition for that
Okay.
because there's no reasoning behind the way the character's been developed.
All right.
Also, though, now sometimes you can't make change, and I coach a lot of younger visible minority actors now, and I tell them the same thing. Sometimes you need to accept those roles that you don't particularly like because we can't make the change unless we're on the inside. So, for example, if it says a character has an Asian accent, well, I'll look at the character, I'll look at his background, and I'll look at the storyline. And if I can't find a reason why he's speaking with an Asian accent, I'll do the audition, I'll get the job, and then when I'm talking to the director and the producer, I'll ask them, so why does he have a Chinese accent? And if they can't come up with a good answer, I say, well, then he shouldn't have a Chinese accent.
All right. There you go.
But
Okay.
that's the only way you can make the change is from inside. You can't, you can scream and yell as much as you want at producers and production companies, but until you prove to them that you have what you were saying will bring in the audience members, they won't listen to you.
Well, also it's strange too because when you say an Asian accent, as you know, my mom is from the Philippines, and I learned very early on the difference between Tagalog, and there's many Tagalog, different kinds of Tagalog, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and even within that scope, depending on where you live, right? So
I didn't know that. I didn't know there were different types of Tagalog. Oh, the stuff I learned on this show, Russell.
7,000 islands.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But it's very strange because I've noticed this in film roles where someone is supposed to be and I heard Sandra Oh talking about this too, where let's say a Chinese actor is hired to play a Korean actor, and you're going, well, you can hire a Korean actor, but a lot of the Gui Lo, the people, for them, they don't see, or they don't bother to try to see the difference. And I think that is an issue too,
Yeah.
I guess it's because for us white folk, well, we're white, but even then, it's like we could be Portuguese, we could be Spanish, we could be, but once again, within that subtle, I won't call it racism, but it's like when you call for an Asian actor, to me, that's a big, broad spectrum.
It is. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And that's why I've developed a generic Asian accent. That you can't tell where the person's from. Because often when they say has like on breakdowns, instead of saying he has an accent, he has a natural way of speaking. Well, that means, well, he might have an accent. So for the audition, I'll do 2 takes, one with an accent, one without an accent. And the accent I use often is what's called a generic Asian accent. It's what is perceived to be Asian, but is not quite really Asian. Because often if you do a true Asian accent, I'll give you an example. I won't mention the production name. I was hired to do a role, and they hired a Mandarin coach to teach us the perfect Mandarin accent they wanted from this specific district, because there's many different Mandarin accents.
Right. Okay.
So for a whole 2 weeks, we were working with this coach, myself and the other cast members. We get to set and we start speaking the way that we were taught by this coach. First scene, the director goes, cut, what the heck? I don't understand a word you guys are saying. So the coach was like, well, that's a pure Mandarin accent. You wanted that Mandarin accent. And he goes, yeah, but the whole of North America is not going to understand what you're saying. So what can you do? And that's where the generic Asian accent came into play. I said, well, I can give you this. How's about this? And he goes, well, that's exactly it.
Okay.
But you have to understand that we're talking about a certain part of our North American country. If you watch their newscasts, if a person has a British accent, they'll put on subtitles.
Yes, certainly for the Americans, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't want to be specific, but yes.
Well, no, I'll be specific. Yeah, in the United States, you'll watch somebody with a Spanish accent or whatever it is, or an Asian accent, and they'll put
they'll put the subtitles on.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Wow.
And myself too. I mean, I've asked been. I mean, yes, way back in my career, I unfortunately did a lot of First Nation roles and a lot of other Asian roles, but now they still ask me to audition for Korean roles and Japanese roles, and I have to refuse them because it's just not right. There's so many Japanese actors, so many Korean actors that can do those roles. I mean, would I want to do that role? Yes. Is it right? No, because you should be hiring the race that you are portraying. And some companies, yes, they'll make changes. I did a French TV series, and originally the person was supposed to be Japanese. Well, once they hired me, they changed the character to Chinese, and they changed the restaurant from a sushi restaurant to a Chinese restaurant. So those are the productions that are aware.
Tu fais ça en français aussi, Russell?
Oui,
OK. Donc, tu parles 3 langues au moins, là?
Ben non, je parle 2 langues. So
2 langues.
That's 2 langues. So, when I was growing up, my mother and father spoke Cantonese, but the dialect of Cantonese they spoke was Toi San. Toi San is a rather poor province in China, and most of the people that came to Canada for the railroad spoke Toi San.
Okay.
So my parents didn't want me to speak Cantonese because everybody would know that we're a poor family, or our origins were of poor.
Oh,
so like a lot of immigrants, they said, you learn French and English, assimilate 100%, be Canadian, Quebecois. And they spoke Cantonese and English. So it ended up being a fun dynamic because they would hide stuff from us by speaking in Cantonese, and we'd hide stuff from them by speaking in French. But little did they know we understood what they were saying, anyways. So, it's
wild. Yeah, but I understand the mentality behind that. Yeah.
And immigrants have a weird history. Like recently, only I found out that the truth is that our family didn't come to Canada for the railroad. Our family originally went to the United States for gold, but when they found gold, they didn't realize that it was illegal for Chinese people to have gold. So literally they went to cash in the gold, and the guy went, yeah, thanks, you can't have this. They took the gold, and that was it.
Wow.
So that's when they heard about the railroad, and they went up to Canada to get some money to send back home.
Yeah, we had that small issue with with making them pay the head tax and not allowing Chinese men to bring their families with them.
Yeah, even my father, after he fought in the Second World War, had to ask permission from the federal government to move from Vancouver to Montreal. Back in the day, all Asian people were monitored, or the government knew where you lived. So he had to ask permission, and we still have the little slip from the federal government saying that he was given permission to move from Vancouver to Montreal.
Yeah, a pretty shady history in this country in those matters as well. And I grew up in Northern Ontario, where the CPR went through, and that was built on the backs of Chinese laborers. And that I was taught that as a young child. And I remember the sole restaurant in the small town I lived in was a Chinese restaurant. And the owner, the young couple, was a descendant of one of the laborers who built the CPR. So, that's we could go on and on about this history, but let's talk about the career. We've got some photographs here of. Maybe you can tell us what this is. This is a Star Trek episode, isn't it?
Yes,
so
that's
awesome.
One of my bucket list things to do. Was to get onto Star Trek, and that was me playing Commodore Tarfoon on Star Trek. Huge, big honor. Unfortunately, my character was supposed to have a story arc, but Star Trek decided to change the storyline, and I didn't appear much after that.
Oh,
But
Oh, that's too
I was
bad.
I was in a Star Trek uniform, so
Wow. And did Commodore Tarfoon speak with an Asian accent?
No, he didn't. Of course, that's it. Star Trek. One of the reasons why it was on my bucket list is because growing up, there were only two Asians on TV: Robert Ito on Quincy
Oh
and
yeah.
George Takei on Star
Of
Trek.
course.
And
Right.
those were the
Right.
only two Asian people that I knew existed in the world on film and TV. So,
Oh
yeah,
my.
Star Trek always represented to me a hopeful future.
We'll try to back you up on that. Here, who's this intense looking gentleman here?
Oh, so this is Mukbang. Um, Mukbang is a TV series. Now, where did I put that? Oh, I had a oh, there it is. I can't remember where all these shows are, where they're on. So Mukbang is on EC2 TV, and it's a small series with Liane Desilt and Sophie Desmarais, and it's yeah, it's an interesting series uh, about how would you say social media, um, how it affects our lives, and it's a story. I'm in this series. I play a restaurant owner who contributes to um, a social media influencer's death, and then how that her death ripples out throughout everybody she touched. So it's interesting. Each episode in this series involves Leanne's character, but each episode concentrates on one person and how her being in their lives affected each one of their lives.
Wow.
cool.
It's mukbang. Okay, here's another shot. You're on the phone a lot there, Russell.
Yeah, well, yeah. Apparently, rich
Oh, you're
guys talk on the
so
phone a lot.
young.
And what?
In the meantime, let's
What are you
circle back
talking
and
about?
crunch
That
the
was just
numbers.
2 years ago.
See if we find a sweet spot to make this deal happen.
So that's the show that I'm nominated for the ACTRA Awards,
Oh,
called
good.
Rich Kids. Yeah,
Okay.
it's an interesting film. A lot of the films that I end up doing uh, are about people trying to break the Asian stereotype. So here, much like in my life, I'm playing the father of this young boy who expects him to follow in his footsteps and get into this big um, uh, real estate uh, company that he owns and become a rich millionaire like myself. But his son has dreams of doing other things. Uh, so uh, I play a lot of rich guys. And it's interesting because if my I always tell people if my father was alive, I wouldn't be a doctor. I wouldn't be an actor. I'd be a doctor because
Right.
it's just the immigrant expectation. So
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
same in this story where, his father built this huge real estate company and he expects his son to follow in his footsteps. And his son has his own dreams that he wants to follow.
Interesting. Interesting. And we've got what is it? The Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving, the Eli Roth 80s horror style film. Yes. Here I'm actually playing Detective Chu. Now, Detective Chu is interesting because Eli based it off a real friend of his who is a detective. So I got to meet the guy. And so Detective Chu is investigating all these horrifying Thanksgiving murders in the Eli Roth's horror film, and of course, working on Eli Roth's project is again one of those bucket list things because he does a lot of his films in the '80s horror style, way too much blood, you know, and way too much gore, but they're always fun movies to be in.
Quite popular too. It's a popular genre these days, is it not?
Yes, it's made its comeback. It's like a lot of times in history when things in the world aren't going great, you
Mm.
want to escape somewhere, right? So either it's Star Wars fantasies, or it's those horror films that just make you scream and laugh and sometimes just shake your head at the ridiculousness of these situations.
Yes.
I think right now, because of the global situation, I think a lot of films that are coming out and that are becoming really popular are the ones that allow us to escape everything around us right now and either give us hope for the future or just let us laugh at the ridiculousness of the situation that we're watching.
And your Piano Killer.
Oh my God.
My goodness, it just doesn't stop. There's smoking and killer pianos, and my goodness.
Yes. So again, it's murder weapon. It's the 80s style ridiculousness, and Eli takes it to another level, right? He just takes that whole genre to another level where it's just absurd but extremely fun to watch.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good. All right. So decapitations, small pianos, large pianos, player pianos, electric pianos. Okay. I like that idea.
I was going to say, I
wish I had that idea.
That's an expensive murder weapon. Oh, and he plays while he's killing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yikes.
Oh, my.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. And here's a shot. Here's a Russell, come at me, bro. Kind of shot here.
That's actually a backstage shot of the Théâtre du Nouveau Monde, where I was able to finally. The Théâtre du Nouveau Monde is one of those theaters in Montreal that, is extremely popular, extremely famous. But I used to go there. I still go there a lot, and I watch so many amazing French productions being done there, and I said, "Oh man, I would love." Being a theater guy, classically trained, I said, oh, I would love to play at the Théâtre du Nouveau Monde one day. And I said, I'll never be able to do it because, when I speak French, I have an Anglo accent, which often I cover up with an Asian accent in French, by the way.
So, we have to hear that, Russell.
Oh, donc, quand je parle français, j'ajoute un petit accent vietnamien.
Oh, okay,
donc,
let's go.
Ouais, ils savent pas que je suis un anglophone. And
That's
so,
very good.
Finally, I got to do this play, Que Notre Joie Demeure, in the Théâtre du Nouveau Monde with Anne Dorval. And it was, we finished, I think, a month ago, and it was just an amazing, amazing experience to be finally there, to finally do what I was trained to do.
Well, good for you and good for them, too.
Yes, and I'm just as an aside, again, my whole career has been about breaking down doors. So apparently I was the first Chinese actor to ever perform at the Théâtre du Nouveau Monde.
Wow, I was about to ask that, but yes, okay, I can see it. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when the artistic director told me this, and I was just like, no, it can't. That's not today. And he goes, no, you are the first. And I'm just, I still am always amazed when, way back when I was one of the first, if not the first, UDA ACTRA member that was Asian. And I remember when UDA gave me my card and they said, congratulations, we think you're the first. And I'm just like, it can't be.
Yeah.
But, and even today, I still get that remark, I still get the remarks of, oh, you're the first doing this. You're the first doing, I'm just like, how is that possible?
Yeah, that's, and I'm very cynical here, Russell. These are my words, but Le Petit Québec is more than a cheese.
Yes. And, but there is two sides of that. There is le côté industriel, the industrial side of Quebec productions that play it very safe. That's the side that you see that keep casting the same French Quebecois actors over and over again in every single series.
Yep.
And then you have the other side, who are the new younger generation, and they're the ones working on molecular-sized budgets, but want to take that chance. Like on Saint-Jean-du-Lac, another series I did in French, they made me the mayor of this small little town in Quebec. And I'm just like, you're casting me. And they go, why not?
Okay.
They go, why wouldn't you? But I'm like, okay. But so there are two sides of the coin, right?
Okay.
There's the
okay. Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it is. But unfortunately, because of that, you know, you have to work on a very tight budget, very tight timeline, and you know, a lot of times I end up making nothing on a film or a series just because of the expenses of doing it. I end up making nothing, but I always do it in the hopes that my face will make it easier for the next person coming up.
Now, you've earned your stripes. You have the IMDb. You've got the ACTRA background and the list of productions. You feel more respected now than you did in the earlier days? I presume you do.
That's a hard
Or is
question.
Is it still job by job and thinking, okay, I may face this, I may face that, I have to prepare for this, that, and the other thing?
Any visible minority actor goes through the same thought process. We hope for the best, expect the worst.
Okay,
I'll give you an example. Recently, I was cast to do a commercial for radio, and they did it off my demo audio tape. And I walked into the studio, and I knew the technician. We've done work before on video games and whatnot. And he knew me. We waved at each other. I walked into the booth, and he was listening to the clients talk, and he pushed the speaker button on purpose. And because they can't see, the clients are behind the technician, so he's in front of me. I could see him. And he just does this to me for me to listen. And the clients are discussing, is this the right guy? Does he have an accent? Did we hire the right guy? And it was because they assumed because of the way I looked.
Yeah.
I must be speaking with an accent. But no, you hired me because of my voice,
right?
Not because of the way I look.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a combat.
So it's a daily struggle, one way or the other.
And then sometimes you get on set, and without even ever asking you, they'll say, "Russ, that was a great take. Can you do that one of that line? Can you do this line in Chinese?" And you're just like, can you do it in German? Because just because you're white, do you speak German? No.
Yeah.
I mean, they assume.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Because as you know, Mayday is my guilty pleasure. I love that series.
Oh, right. Okay. We hadn't talked about that. Yeah.
That is my bucket list to be on a Mayday episode. But Mayday is done so well. A lot of the other airline series on bad things that happen to planes, they'll use AI in this, but these are really well done productions. Like the casting is great. So when you're in it, I'm just kind of curious, when you go into the role, let's say the role you played an engineer and something went wrong with one of the engines, and your pilot and co-pilot and everybody, did they teach you about the equipment that you're working on to make it as realistic as possible? And I know you've had several roles.
So yes. And by the way, if John Moore can be a reporter on Mayday, Eramelinda can be a reporter on Mayday any day. I'm sure they will hire you right away.
Dig at John Moore. Very good.
Yeah. So, yes, they have an advisor on set who is actually, a lot of times when I'm there, they're often NTSB investigators. So they often have the NTSB person who's there, who's usually often a pilot, who will advise us on exactly how to maneuver everything, how to work the controls, what would be happening in actuality at that moment. Oh my God, I haven't seen these footage forever. So yes, there's advisors on set all the time, and they're telling you exactly what would be actually happening, not only mechanically with the plane, but in the pilot's head or the engineer's head, or what they would be looking for.
And what is it like when there are bad things happen to the plane and you're crashing a plane? Is the set on one of those things, or they're just making you move your body? Like, is it one of those machines? Yeah.
it's very Star Trekky. The
Left,
original Star Trek.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very because again, Mayday is done on a not a super low budget, but as you know, they churn out so many episodes that they don't have a massive budget. Uh, so they have a studio with actual planes, cockpits of planes, and they can interchange the cockpits, and they. I just got to make sure I say that properly. They so yes, but so they have everything in front of you. They have a green screen in front of you, but unfortunately, we never see. It's not like a virtual wall, so we don't see what's on the green screen. So they kind of show us the footage, and then we go in, and the director's yelling, "Okay, and now this is happening. This is vibrating. You're leaning left. You're leaning right." Yeah, it's very much like that.
It must be fun, though.
Well, yeah, of course it's fun. Of course it's fun, you know. But they don't have the budget like when I did the Netflix Three Body Problem. They don't have that kind of budget, but they do what they can with what they have, you know.
Wow, you've mentioned a few productions here. That's interesting list of things. And was it the Red Piano you mentioned as well earlier?
Oh, the Red Violin.
Violin. Sorry.
Yeah, the Red Violin was my first breakout role. It was my role that really put me on the map because you know the Red Violin was such a well-received film.
Yeah,
and it was nominated for so many Oscars and everything. I wasn't. The film was, but it was really the first chance to do a big production film and have a role where you actually felt that you were contributing to the story. Yeah, the Red Violin was a Sandra Oh, and it was a Confior was in it. Samuel Jackson was in it. It was a really great film to be in. And again, the director took a huge chance on me because I was a completely unknown actor at the time, and it was one of those situations where it's those actor dream auditions where you first do the general audition with everybody. And of course, back then, this is pre-COVID, so you actually went to the casting place and you did the initial audition. And then there's a callback, but it's a callback with the director. And so I was like looking over the sides. Sides are the little pieces of the script they gave you to do the audition. I'm looking over it and I'm trying to do all these scenarios in my head. How can I do it this way? Maybe I can do it this way. I could say it this way, and making all these histories in my head about the character. And then I go and I meet the director and we're talking and he's asking me about the character and how I see it. And we're talking and we're talking. And then finally I go, would you want to do the sides? And he goes, "Oh, no, you got the role already."
Wow.
And I was just like, what? He goes, no, I understand. You understand the character, so you have the role. And I was like, "You're kidding." He goes, no, I'm not kidding. He took my, he goes, "Here's proof." Takes my photo, puts it on the wall, pins it, and he goes, "There, you're cast."
Wow, what a great story.
You know, for actors, that is the dream. And that's how I was cast also in Théâtre du Nouveau Monde, Que Notre Joie Demeure. I went in thinking that I prepared for the audition, you know, French being my second language. I was just like, I really gotta. So I was pounding my head and days of going over the script. And I go and meet one of the metteur en scène, the directors, and Maxime. And he's like, "So what he talked about the character. We talked about how I saw it." And I said, do you want to do the scene now? He goes, "Well, we can, but you have the role." And again, it was just so when I direct, I find you know when you read a script, it's one thing, but being on set is completely, it changes you as an actor, right? Wardrobe, makeup, being on set really allows you to become the character. So when I direct, I'll look at the audition tape, but for me, it's really if the actor understands the character. And if you understand the character, then I know that when I put you on set in makeup, you will get it. And a great example for me is when I did the three body problem, playing the first Chinese emperor. I'm like, I've played emperors before, but this is for the guys who did Game of Thrones, and I'm like, how am I going to encompass this character? So I was like doing all this historical research and about their education and how were emperors treated. And I still couldn't quite get the character. And then I went for the wardrobe fitting. And once they put on layer after layer after layer of this costume on me, I stood up and I realized, oh my God, this is why the emperors move like this. This is why they hold themselves like this. They don't have a choice. It's what they're wearing.
Yeah, 300 pounds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it really makes a difference, I think. I think a lot of times actors are put into unfair positions because the director and producer have a vision already in their head of how this character should be. The actor, we're kind of throwing darts at the board and hoping it hits because we don't get to see their vision. We don't get to see the sketches of the wardrobe beforehand or the sketches of the sets that we're going to be in because that changes everything. So often I feel that if an actor understands the character, then as a director, I can help them fit into the vision that I have for the film.
I'm just flashing on your dad here for some reason. Did he live to see you succeed?
No. So I lost my father when I was 11. So I started working at 13 to support my mom. I had siblings, but my family, I think I wrote down in the background piece, my family, I think, represents what Canada and Quebec is all about. Immigrants, fourth generation, Catholics, Protestants, atheists, Jews in the family. Part of the family speaks English, French, Hebrew. Another part of the family speaks Chinese. We got gays, straights, everything you want in our family. But my father brought me up to be a doctor. So my gifts that I got as my birthday gifts were microscopes, chemistry sets, human anatomy, that kind of stuff. So if he was alive, I'd be a doctor right now, unfortunately. Nice. It's one of those things that immigrant parents, again, you just don't disobey your father.
It's like the old joke, when is a fetus deemed to be viable in a Chinese family? When it graduates from medical school.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's very much it. And unfortunately, I was going towards medical school, and I lied to my mom about transferring out of, preparing to go to medical school into theater because I didn't know at the time I was dyslexic, and I was having so much trouble studying. I couldn't get past, what was it, Advanced Calculus 2 in CEGEP. Yeah, I know. But I needed that to get into medical school, and I was having so much trouble. And again, my sister and my brother, we all went to the same school. So when I got to that high school, and then went to the same CEGEP as them, all the teachers kept saying, well, your sister and brother were so good at math. Why are you so dumb? But dyslexia back then was viewed very much like my asthma was back then. I'm asthmatic. And back then, asthma was in your head, right?
Right.
So my phys ed teachers would run me in the gym until I passed out.
Good God.
Well, that's because you're faking it, right? You're faking it. So I didn't understand why I was diagnosed with what's called a dyscalculia, which sounds like something from Sesame Street, like the Count would say. But I have dyscalculia. So when I see numbers on a page, they dance, they move around, they shift positions. A 6, 9, 6, 9, and it's so bad that I could take a column of numbers, add them up 3 times. I'll come up with 3 different summary additions. So I needed an elective in CEGEP, and I took drama as an elective, and a light bulb went off in me and went, "Oh my God!"
Wow.
I
Well,
really
what
love
about
this.
learning lines with all of that? Has that been a problem?
So once I went to theater school, Joseph Cazalet, he's passed away unfortunately. He was my advisor. So each person had in theater school has an advisor, one of the teachers. And one of the big problems I had in theater school was that, oh, it still hurts, um, is a lot of people in that theater school came from like John Abbott Theater School. I was the Asian guy that came from the medical background. So, Concordia, much like the National Theater School, they have about 800 applicants. Now they have 1,200, but 800 applicants then. And then out of the 800, they accept 15.
Hmm.
And out of the 15, 8 of us graduated. But when I first started, everybody in the class kept saying, "You're only here because they needed a visit by minority.
Oh, nice.
Or back
You
to
don't
that?
you don't
Okay.
deserve to be here." You know? Um, so whenever it was just that nightmarish thing that happened to me in high school and then later on in CJEP and then in university and theater school, when there was time to partner up with people, nobody wanted to partner up with me
Oh,
because when it came to doing auditioning for roles for theater pieces, the classmate would say, "Well, don't bother auditioning, Russell. I mean, you're just gonna, you can't do this role. You can't do." It was horrible. So I went to Joseph Cazalet one time and I said, "Joseph, I'm done. I need to go back to medicine. I can't do this." And Joseph said, "Russell, if you can get through these 3 years of theater in Concordia, then you can get through the industry." And he said, "A lot of these people that are having it easy here in this theater school aren't going to make it."
mm,
He says, if you make it, you graduate, you will make it.
wow.
So, he wouldn't transfer for those who don't know, if you drop out after a certain period of time without your mentor signing off on you, you lose all the money for all those courses. And, of course, I was putting myself through university because I was supporting my mom. So I was like, I can't afford to lose those credits. And he wouldn't sign off to allow me to transfer back to medicine. So I toughed it out. But it was also him who sat me down one time and said, "Russell, some of the teachers are saying that you're having trouble memorizing lines." And he says, "But your memorization of the lines isn't the problem. It's you're mixing up the order of the words."
Mm,
And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm having trouble memorizing." Again, I thought I was just dumb. And he goes, "Well, have you ever got tested?" And I was like, "Oh, he thinks I'm on the spectrum." He goes,
Okay.
he goes, "No, no, no." He goes,
Oh no.
"Have you ever got
My God.
like tested for dyslexia?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
What? What is that?" So luckily Concordia had the psych department. So I went down to the psych department. I got tested and they went, "How did you get through high school?"
mm.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" They go, "You are severely dyslexic." And I was just like, "Well, I couldn't tell you how much of a weight was taken off my shoulders." Because, growing up, you just think you're stupid, you're slow, right? I had to study harder than anybody else. I had to put more time in than anybody else. I never could memorize a timetable to save my life. So once I knew I was dyslexic, there's all these tricks they gave you to work around your dyslexia so I can memorize lines. And that's how I can memorize. And my friends now tell me, apparently I can memorize lines a lot faster than most people. I think it's because of being forced to find the workarounds that made you. And once I found the workarounds, memorizing lines became easy.
Wow. Oh, Russell, it's done me a world of good to meet you today. Thank you. I'm sorry, Era.
That's okay. No, I was going to say I've known Russell for a long time, but I've learned a lot of new and wonderful things, and my respect for you was fairly there, but even more so now. And I think that your children are lucky to have a dad like you, and we're lucky to have such a great representation in the Canadian performing scene for someone like you, because you're not only a great actor, but you're a wonderful human being, and it's just such a pleasure to have you on today.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time talking to me and stuff like that.
And break a leg with the award, too.
Whoa. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. We'll see. I'll talk soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Bye now.